when I first got started, my wife and I, we just bought the house next door to us to do a fix and flip. I'm on my way home, and my wife calls me, and she's like, hey, you coming home from dinner, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you do anything today? Oh, not really. Just like trying to play it cool.
Just bought a house.
Yeah, I just kind of slid it in there. Like, we bought another house. And she's like, you did what? We lost money on the first deal we did up here. I come up here and I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
So it was just a train wreck. This past year, it became so easy to wholesale. And like a lot of the assignment fees I was getting on stuff, I'm like, that's what I was projecting I'd make on a flip.
He brought me in, showed me this rentals, gave me all of it.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Investor Unite podcast, where we talk all things real estate, business, and entrepreneurship.
If you're looking to ignite your real estate investing, then join us at Investors Unite. And on today's show, we have a good friend in the fellow real estate community, Brandon.
That is crushing it, doing 6 figures a month, man, within, wholesaling, fixing and flipping, getting into creative financing deals. And we're going to dive into it throughout this whole episode. So you guys want to stay tuned, because we're going to dive really deep. We've been seeing the comments, and people have been saying we're not asking the greatest questions. So we take that into consideration, because we want to get better each episode. So
yeah, we have realized that a couple of the past episodes, they're a little more surface level, and it was kind of just because there was so much to touch base on. I feel like we couldn't really get it all into one video.
Right.
But yeah, on the future episodes, we'll definitely try to dive a little bit deeper into some of the topics and get the good stuff.
Yeah, but with that being said, truly appreciate Brandon Knoess for hopping on the podcast today. So
yeah, thank you.
I am honored. I appreciate it. You guys are inspirational to me as well, starting out as young as you guys are. I wish I would have got started at that age. So I think you guys started, like 21?
21.
Like
yeah, you were a little bit younger, I think.
I got my license when I was 20.
Yeah.
I wish when I was 18, that would have been great.
Right. Yeah, that's the same process I had. I'm like, man, if I wouldn't have wasted
like
all
3 years, I could.
Yeah. Instead, I came out of college with, a bunch of debt and, started backwards and had to work out of that. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. So what's kind of like your expertise, would you say?
I
know you do pretty much everything.
Yeah, so real estate in general, not a licensed agent, obviously. Okay. I did have my real estate license for like 5 minutes at one point, and it wasn't a good idea. So.
5 minutes?
Yeah,
yeah.
Basically, I realized how cutthroat the real estate agent side was, and people calling on me for like every little like, oh, you didn't cross this T or dot this I. I was like, okay, I'm out. I'm not dealing with that. So yeah, so basically, when I first got started, my wife and I, we just bought the house next door to us to do a fix and flip. It was run down, grown up with weeds. Nobody lived in it, and so the owners would come over like once every 6 months and start clearing stuff out. And I had no clue what I was doing. I just went over and asked, like, hey, do you want to sell this? Because it was an ugly house next to mine.
Yeah.
And my wife and I had a little money saved up. And so I was working for a guy that basically we did like exterior remodeling stuff, roofing, siding, windows, that kind of stuff. And when he found out that I was looking at buying the house, he's like, hey, I've done a few flips. You want to partner up on it? And so we partnered up and did our first deal.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history. I got into wholesaling and rentals and, creative finance, all that stuff.
Very cool. Very cool. Yep. So where did you go to college at?
Liberty.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's in East Washington? Or?
No, it's Lynchburg, Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So a little further down south there. But, I went there from 28 to 2012. Got married right out of college. We stayed in Lynchburg for like 6 years or so. Just
you went for public health education?
I did. Yep.
Okay.
It's creepy that you know that.
I'm just kidding. LinkedIn,
Yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah. Yep, I did. I went for health promotion. I got a job working as an activities director at a retirement community. Did that for a couple years, and then transitioned into the extra remodeling side, and then from that into the real estate side.
Very cool.
Okay, so for that first deal, just going back.
Yeah.
So he knew the knowledge of everything, and then you got the property. So did he bring the money?
He did. Yep. He brought the money. We put in a little bit, but not much. We bought the place. I think it was like $65,000 or something like that. Put like 35 into it.
Gotcha.
And we sold it for like $150. So I think we netted out like 35-ish.
And that's a good thing for your first deal.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. And he was there to, you know, like you said, the reno side's hard. It's really hard when you're first starting out. And I had basic knowledge of like the outside stuff. Like I know, okay, like that roof's going to cost me $8,000. The gutters are costing me this, windows this. But like the interior stuff, like I didn't know if the floor was going to cost me $3,000 or $30,000. I had no clue on flooring at all or paint or anything like that. So he helped me out with that side, and we made some good money on it. And at that point, you know, I'm making like, I don't know, it was like $45,000-$50,000 a year. So I made
That's
like,
crazy.
half your salary.
yeah, half my salary in like a
Yeah.
3-month time frame. Like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. So going into that, did you know anything about like running comparables to see what this property would be worth afterwards, or did he really guide you from like step one to the finish line?
Yeah, so I had a little bit of knowledge. My dad did like part-time real estate when I was growing up.
Okay.
And so I always had an interest. Like I always enjoyed like looking at houses, and I was the guy that would just show up to an open house just to like see the house.
Yeah.
No intentions of buying it at all.
I remember doing it at like 16, 17,
Yeah,
going to
right.
these like $1 million mansions.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Walk in, button down.
Yep. Yeah. I'm here looking for myself and my
Yeah,
wife.
just make
Like,
something
yeah, yeah. You'd see the agents just looking at you like, no, you're not.
Yeah,
No, you're not.
exactly.
But yeah, it was. I had a little bit of knowledge from him, and then you know the rest of it was just kind of relying on different mentors that I had throughout, and like that's one of the biggest things I think as a young investor is if you can get under the wing of somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
They don't have to be like a 30-year vet, but just somebody who's a few steps ahead of where you're at least.
Yeah.
Right.
Then, you know, it's going to be a big advantage for you.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that we have like noticed recently as well, is when we first started out, like it's not the same mentors that we have now.
Right.
I feel like it's getting to the point where like you eventually start to outgrow your mentor.
Correct.
It's like they only have so much knowledge on whatever specific topic that they do, whatever kind of investing that is. And it's like, we're still young. We're still looking to touch our toes in every little puddle we can, really adventure out. So it's just been going through like mentor after mentor recently, but it's amazing to have.
It's a needed thing. If you want to grow, you know, you're going to have to go and find, the goal is always to find like the best in each little area, right?
Yeah.
So like if I want to know about flooring, like I'm going to call Ronnie.
Yeah.
Touch of Color. Like,
Touch of
right?
Color.
Everybody knows
Yeah,
Ronnie,
shout out.
like that's the guy I'm going to call. If I want to know something about whatever it is, like kitchens, bathrooms, like I'm going to go find that guy that's like the best in that area, and I'm going to talk to him.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to help you keep stepping up to that next level.
Now, in regards to going back to getting that first deal done, so did you close your next deal like soon after that, or did you take some time off from real estate?
Yeah, so no.
Use that money and blow it on a car.
No. Thankfully, my wife is way smarter than me with finances, so she kept me in check with all that stuff. But so before we even settled on that one, I had already bought the next one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We went to an auction. I did not tell my wife at all. Me and my buddy that we were partnered up on that one, we went to an auction, and in Virginia, they just do it at the courthouse steps.
Yeah.
And it's random. Like, they don't have them like once a month. Like, they might have like 2 on this day and 3 next week and whatever it is. So it's a little bit more sporadic out there.
Right,
and like and they get canceled all the time at the courthouse steps. So we're going there. We're like, this probably isn't going to work out. And like they auctioned it off, and we ended up buying the house. It was like $28,000.
Oh, wow.
And this is like a rancher in a decent area. It's a hoarder house, so like it's beat up like crazy. Like a roof fell, or a tree fell through the roof. Like it was bad. But we're like, for $28,000, like the land's worth.
We got to make some money on this.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm on my way home, and my wife calls me, and she's like, you know, hey, you coming home from dinner, you know, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you do anything today? And I'm like, no, not really. You know, just like trying to play it cool.
Just bought a house.
Yeah, I just kind of slid it in there. Like, we bought another house. And she's like, you did what? She's like freaking out on the phone. And I'm like, it's fine, babe.
How are we
like,
going to afford this?
Exactly. Yeah, it's exactly like that's her next question. I'm like, if it's a good deal, we'll find the money, like some way, and that's still true, like today. Like,
That's really good
deal, like,
to have that mindset too, so early on.
Yeah,
because not a lot of people have that.
It's exactly. A lot of people like operate from like the fear mentality, and mine might have just been I was too dumb to realize like how potentially like bad it could have been, and maybe it
might be a good thing though.
Exactly, yeah. So it worked out. We made like I think that was like 45 or something on that, and like
nice.
we did like 2 or 3 more flips, and then like I stopped working for him completely. We still partnered up on deals, but like he understood, like it was like
right.
It just doesn't make sense.
You don't need the full-time job anymore.
Yeah, 9 to 5 making 45 grand a year, or I can go make 6 figures flipping houses.
Yeah,
in 3 months.
Yeah, I'm gonna go flip houses.
Of course.
For that, I was gonna say, for that auction property, did you like drive by it, or did you?
Yeah, we drove by. Hopefully the feds aren't watching. We broke into the house, and nobody lived there. It had been vacant for years.
Yeah.
And
no one cares.
You know, just a little credit card. Like, you go and so we went inside, and so we knew what we were buying when we were on the steps, but.
Did you guys have like a maximum allowable offer or MAO?
I think we were going like 45 to 50 on it.
So you have wiggle room in there.
Yep, yeah. So because we were okay, like at that point, like we made 20 grand on a deal, like all good. So I think we capped out like 45-ish was somewhere around the max offer, and there was like sometimes because the way they do the auctions there, like nobody shows up. It's just you sometimes.
Right.
That's something I'd love for us to like eventually start doing. We have yet to. I don't know. Have you been to an auction?
I've been to a short sale.
A short sale?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never been to an auction yet, but it seems like it'd be cool. I mean, if other people are there, you get a little bidding experience.
You should go to some of the sheriff sales just for experience.
Yeah.
And also, it's a great place to network.
Okay.
Did you see who's buying houses?
With buyers,
Yeah, so you can build a buyer's list quick. I've sold a lot of houses to people that I met at an auction. I didn't go there and buy anything, but I got a new buyer for, I know that this dude will buy anything in, whatever it is, Hanover or York.
Yeah.
That's some hidden gems right there.
Speaking of which, we got a property we need to sell, so maybe you could help us out with that.
Where's it at?
Duncannon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know several people that do buy up that way. So
perfect.
Yeah.
JV or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So are you from Virginia originally?
I'm from South Florida.
South Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Why the hell are you up here?
That's what everybody asks.
What do you
Literally verbatim what everybody asks me.
Yeah, because everyone goes from PA to Florida.
Exactly. Yep. You have to ask my wife that question. So
was her decision?
Yeah. It's basically when I moved up to Virginia to go to college, I just thought like, I meet a girl, and like any girl that I meet is going to want to move down to Florida.
Right.
Like who doesn't want to live in South Florida? And I married the one girl who wants to live in Pennsylvania. So
wow.
Her whole family lives in Gettysburg, and she's very tight knit with her family, which I very much appreciate.
Nice. Yeah.
It's great. So when we had literally a month after our second son was born, we're like, it'd be nice to have some grandparents around.
Yeah.
So we moved
help
up
with the
to
babysitting.
PA. Yes, yeah. And so they help us out a ton, thankfully, because raising 3 boys is no joke.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
How old are the boys?
7, 5, and 2.
Ooh, they're kind of close.
Keeping you busy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They're the 2 older ones are in sports now, so
Nice.
it's every season is on to the next thing. Go go go, and
Yeah.
the little one will be there shortly.
Were you in
awesome.
sports growing up?
Yeah.
You look athletic.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I used to look more athletic. But, I did everything, man, growing up. Like every sport. Like I was on the bowling team at one point. I played ping pong like we were talking about earlier. Like, and then all the normal stuff. Like basketball was my main thing growing up. Played football, soccer, baseball, like volleyball, all of it.
Just tried it all.
I did, yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you have one that you like? Maybe I should have like stuck with one and like focused on a little more, but like I always wanted to.
Yeah.
So you're pretty competitive, I'm guessing.
Very, yes.
That definitely like plays a part in business, because like we grew up playing sports, and like I get competitive, he gets competitive and stuff, and we get hype running numbers. Stuff like that.
Like, what number did you get? No, what number did you get?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you lose out on a deal, like it's in your head, you're like, what did I do this? Like, did they do something better than I did? And like you get in your head about it, and like sometimes they just were able to pay a little more than you, or sometimes like they might have just liked that person a little more than you.
Better relationships.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you guys that you guys got a deal from me?
I think I know what deal that was. Is it Hershey?
I might have messaged you about it after the fact. I can't remember.
May have. I don't know, but
Yeah.
like I think the seller was saying something about first choice or something. Well,
I can't remember. I think
were you with?
I can't remember if I was or not when that. How long ago was it?
That was last May.
Last May. No, I would have been. It was me.
It was you then?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so they may have also been on this deal too.
Probably, yeah. I think he called a bunch of people, if I remember right.
Yeah.
But
I was like, so I did the deal this time. Like, I did acquisitions.
Yeah.
And built a pretty good relationship with the seller.
Yep.
Yeah, because I remember at first when we were going over this deal, and our original plan was just an ovation.
Yeah.
But you guys came in. So if I remember this properly, our innovation number was we could give him 232 or 232.
Oh yeah, we came in at a higher price.
Yeah, you guys were definitely higher than I
Do
was.
innovation.
Yeah.
You were like 210.
Yes,
you were like
somewhere
205.
around
Something
there.
really low.
It was just over 200.
Cash.
I'm like, you're willing to take a lower offer than ours?
Right.
I was just so confused.
Yeah.
So I was like, we're giving you more.
Right.
Yeah, they just didn't want to wait for the time frame. So Stephanie called me and she was like, he told me that the other guy's at 205, and we're like running back through numbers, and we kind of let it go after he was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right,
I'm looking to go with this person.
Yep.
I guess that was you at the time.
It was me.
That's
yeah,
so cool.
yeah.
And then Stephanie's like, why don't we just offer him a little more? We were like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
209.
It worked out. You guys did decent on that, if I remember
Made
right.
like 20,000, a little over 20,000 on
You
that.
pretty much just cleaned it out, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Painted it and stuff.
Like,
I was gonna flip it.
You're gonna
Was the game plan? Yeah, I was gonna go in there, remodel. It's obviously a hot area right there.
Oh, yeah,
oh my God, it's perfect.
Go in a heartbeat. You fix it up.
We were shocked actually that we did not get offers where like we were hoping to, as fast as we were hoping.
Yep.
And another thing with that property is that I didn't realize at the time, but I think one of the main downfalls of that property was the layout.
Yes.
Because you weren't able to have open concept with just the way it is.
It was very choppy. You couldn't open up the kitchen anything because you had the stairwell right there.
Yeah.
And I remember that.
They had that addition, so it was the exterior wall in the living room, so you couldn't knock that out. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, simple
it was
clean
a
out.
tough one. Yeah.
Like it was actually me and my girlfriend and like two of her friends at the time. We were in there for like 2 weeks straight, 10 hours a day. She was on vacation the entire time.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Oh yeah, I gotta go.
Ripped out that stinky old carpet.
Yep.
Try to clean up the floors as much as possible.
Yeah.
And staple out by hand on
Yep.
everything. Painted all the walls. Oh my God, the worst was the wallpaper.
Oh yeah.
The wallpaper in that house.
Yep.
Was a pain, man.
Yep.
So how did you go about getting that deal? Because for us, it was a probate letter.
I'm pretty sure it was a mail piece I sent him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could tell you for sure later. I got to go back and look through my CRM, but I'm pretty sure that was a postcard that I sent him.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. People sleep on mail, but like if you're, so I do different types of postcards depending on which list I'm mailing.
Yeah.
And that seems to help a lot. I think a lot of people just like pick a postcard and they just send it.
You're more targeted.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So like I have like a little bit fancier ones that cost a little more going to something that, might be like a probate or a pre-foreclosure, something like that, versus like an absentee owner where like you're just casting a wide net there and hoping. So those get like cheap postcards that like maybe they call, maybe they don't. Right. So that seems to help a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might have ones that are more like sentimental versus more that are number related.
Yep. I have like the ones that I use. So like have you guys heard of Ballpoint Marketing?
I have, yeah.
So Ballpoint Marketing, you can do they have like a 7 mailer sequence that you can do.
Yeah.
And so I like they have their own that you can just use their template and go, but like I custom wrote all 7 of mine to like kind of just walk them through. Like it kind of increases urgency with each one along the way.
Right.
And also like we'll point out like a different like benefit each time.
Yeah.
Like, you can leave your stuff behind. Don't worry about it doing any repairs. Like if you're worried about navigating this with an attorney, I can help. Like that kind of stuff. And so, when
you're giving away all your secrets.
I told you, I'm like, I'll spill all the beans. I really don't care. Like there's plenty to go.
You got the abundance mindset.
I try. I'll tell you guys whatever you want to know.
So I know we were talking about we were talking about how you and your wife are business partners. Was it always like, after you did your first 2 deals and you had that previous partnership, did you guys just partner right away or did?
So she's like, if you ask her, like, are you Brandon's business partner? She'll probably say no.
Yeah.
She hates having any kind of spotlight on her. She's very just like, behind the scenes, she just wants to like do stuff on the computer.
A good wife.
Yeah,
it sounds like
she's amazing. She makes me a way better person than I am.
That's awesome.
she just loves like doing the numbers on the computer. She helps keep me organized. Like, did you call this person? Did you follow up with this person? Like, she's just very she's type A. She is very super detail oriented. So
I'll be calling him 24/7. Did you do this?
It's like 30, 40 times a day.
Yep. But that's what we need, right? Like,
it is,
you know what I mean?
Because
like,
I'm not gonna do it otherwise.
That's exactly it. Like,
I got to think.
I don't have that reminder there. Like,
I love the numbers. Like, I'm a super like math geek.
Yep.
But unless it's like somebody's like telling me, hey, run those numbers.
Yeah.
It's like, I forgot.
Yeah.
I'll get to it.
Yep. Yeah. But no, we didn't partner. She's just always like had a hand in the business since day one. She's always done the numbers. I do the numbers on the front end, right? Like she would have no idea like how to value a house or how to come up with a reno budget.
Yeah.
So I do all the front end stuff, but basically like when we start doing a rehab, like she tracks every single penny.
The budgeting.
Yep. Yeah. She does all that stuff. She tells me how much we made at the end. She puts it all together for the accountant when tax season rolls around.
Nice.
So she has a big hand in my success and our business as a whole.
Yeah.
And then she actually manages all our rental properties too.
Makes
She
your
does
life
all that
easy.
stuff.
Where do I find one of these?
Yeah, I know, right? At Liberty.
That's a little far.
Yeah, right. But yeah, she does all the stuff that I hate doing.
Yeah.
But she loves doing it. That's why it works.
Yeah.
Like I can't stand doing that stuff. I would pay somebody to do it. Like if she wasn't there, I'd be paying somebody to do it.
Yeah.
That's the point we're getting to. It's like after this past year, we went through and we had our VA actually like doing some bookkeeping for us, like just trying to keep it a little more organized in spreadsheets, just because neither one of us were really doing it.
Right.
And by the time like it came down to it, we started talking to our CPA, and he was like, "This is all wrong."
Yep.
So we were like, "Yeah, next hire is going to be a bookkeeper for sure."
Yeah. There's a bunch of them out there that'll do it just on like a need be basis, and you know, like if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the bottom line. So like that, it's such an important thing. And like
she keep track of like KPIs for you too.
So she doesn't really have to. Like my CRM does all that stuff automatically. So as long as I'm inputting the right information in there, it's like I can pull that anytime I need. So
Gotcha.
You know, I know what marketing's working and what's not, and you know, like it's just if you have a really good CRM, then you really don't need somebody to manually track it.
Right.
Do you use RE Simply or
No, so I use Go High Level.
Oh, okay.
So it's a build out I had done, and it does everything. When you're running it with just like my wife and I, you have to have as much automation as possible.
Right.
So I just went through and I was looking at like I've tried Podio, I've tried Salesforce, like I've been in a bunch of different ones.
Yeah.
And when I was kind of shopping around and I'd already trial and errored several of them, Go High Level just kind of checked all the boxes. It's a good combination of something that's really simple and straightforward, but also does all the automation that I need it to.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When looking for a CRM, do you mind like going through what some of those check boxes might be?
Yeah.
Just kind of like when you're
Yeah. So again, the automation's a big thing, and when I say automation, I'm mostly talking about follow-up's another thing that I hate doing.
Yeah.
Like I just like unless I know it's like a super hot deal, like I'm gonna lock this down today type thing, then like I just hate those monotonous like, hey, it's been a month.
Feels like
just
a waste
calling
of
to
time.
check
How's
it.
it
Yeah,
going?
exactly. Yep, yeah. But it's so necessary. Like
Yeah. It
your
is.
money is in your follow-up. And so I spent like literally 2 weeks just building out like, so again, the Go High Level build out came with a template of one that you could just do. It's like a 15-month follow-up sequence.
Yeah.
Hits them like a lot at the beginning and then gets like further and further apart. And so I went in there and built a 15-month sequence of all my stuff, like exactly what I would be saying to sellers. And it has text messages, emails, ringless voicemails. It'll put reminders for you to physically pick up the phone and call.
Yeah.
And so it does all that stuff for you. Basically, like, so you have leads that come in right and they never pick up the phone, ever. Like they fill out a form and they just never pick up the phone, no matter how many times you call them.
Right.
So I move them into this, it's called a pipeline, and it's just called no contact made.
Yeah.
And that it'll follow up with that person for 15 months straight with text messages, voicemails, emails. Every once in a while, I'll get a prompt to call them. So that was like the big thing, was finding something that did that and did it consistently and did it well.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I had other ones that just like they would break easily. Like you do one little thing and like all of a sudden your
the
whole
campaign's just ruined.
Yes,
sends all 15 months of messages.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
That's horrible. That's so bad.
So that was the main thing, was finding that, like the automation of like texting, calling, ringless voicemails. Like once I found that, the rest is just like bonus basically for me.
Yeah.
So if someone like, if they go through the 15 months and nothing happens, do they automatically be put as a dead lead and no contact again?
So it basically, what it does is it'll prompt me. I'll get a notification. It's literally an email that comes through and says, hey, this person finished their campaign.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I can move them into another campaign that I have, which is like a 3-year follow-up.
Oh, wow.
And
you're really on
He's not
it.
playing around.
like, if this person's either dead or they like really like don't want to sell their house, you know what I mean? Like, so, but basically like, and that's really spread out. Like they get like a message like once a month for a little while, and then like every other month, and then every 3 months, and like, you know, so that 3-year time frame, like they might only get like 15 messages from you over 3 years.
Do you know if you've ever gotten a deal once it's gone past that 15-month follow-up campaign?
The longest one I've had is 2 years.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. And it was just like, the thing is like the lady never stopped communicating with me. She would respond periodically here and there, but it was just like sweet older woman, and she just like, she needed to find another place to go to.
Gotcha.
And this was the home she'd been in for 35 years or something like that, and she didn't have a place to go.
Yeah.
So she kept looking and looking and looking, and eventually she found something, and like, but 90% of that follow-up with her was an automated follow-up. It wasn't anything where it was like I'm sitting there picking up the phone calling all the time.
Saves you so much time.
Yeah. Now when she would respond, I'd pick up the phone and give her a call and just, you know, touch base with her, have a little chat, keep the rapport built, and that kind of stuff. But
that's awesome. Yeah. Do you got on that specific deal? Do you remember if you talked numbers in the beginning, like give her an offer at all?
Yeah. So I will always talk numbers with somebody on the front end. And if I don't feel like they're quite ready, then a lot of times I'll just give them kind of a range, right? Like they'll like, you know, 150 to 180 is probably somewhere I'm going to land. I'll normally try and give them like a 30 grand range.
Yeah.
And so the bottom part of that's going to be like kind of worst case scenario, and the top part's best case scenario type deal.
Gotcha.
So ranges are a good way to not send somebody over the edge where they're going to run away from you. Because if I just walk in and say 150 and she has 170 in her mind,
then she's
like,
done.
Yeah, exactly. And a year or two, depending on what the market does, I might be able to happily pay 170 or 180 or more. So
yeah,
you know,
that's what I was going to ask, is because 2 years from that first initial call that you had with her, I'm sure the market price and everything else has changed already.
It did. Yeah,
it's like,
the market went up substantially, and
you know, still kept that first price, right?
Yes, yeah. She had that price so much. She was good with the price from the beginning. It was just her big issue was having a place to go.
The timeline.
Yep, yeah. And I'd send her places here and there as stuff came available, but she was looking for like something very specific, and it just in her budget it wasn't happening. So
I know a couple people like that right now in the pipeline.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like
I can think of them right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's two specifically I can think of. But they're looking for places to rent, and it's like, dude, I can't find anything what you're looking for.
Yep. That's the tough part with people who don't have a place to go right now. Is it's a little harder.
Yeah. And especially when they're in no big rush, they're like, well, they're going to nitpick every little thing about the rental. It's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, there's nothing pushing them.
Yeah.
We went through a big push for a while where we were focusing specifically on people that had to move. So especially when the interest rates went up, people didn't want to move because you don't want to go from a 3.5 to a 7.5 or whatever it is, you know. So, but when you focused on people who were in a pre-foreclosure, like those people don't have a choice. They have to move. You know what I mean? Like people that inherited a house, they're not affected by the interest rates.
Yeah. Right.
And you know, as long as they're not moving into it, they're going to sell that house.
Yeah.
So you kind of shift your focus a little bit.
Get more targeted with the sellers.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, another thing kind of related to that is people who had a variable rate. So people who might have locked in at like that 3%, and then obviously like 5 years later it comes up to 7.5. Do you know if there's any way to specifically pull a list of adjustable rate mortgages?
That's a really good question. I don't. I know there's a way to pull list where you can see like people that are like 30, 60, 90 days late.
Okay.
On like credit cards and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
I I don't know about pulling variable rates specifically.
That's something I've brought up to her in the past. We never were able to figure it out, but I still love to. I feel like it'd be great.
Yeah, most definitely.
I have no idea,
because those monthly payments are probably like doubling for us.
Yeah.
I got I
have a variable rate on one of my rentals, and thankfully, I mean, we bought it so well, it's not going to matter, when we do it, but it still has like 2 years left on it, so we're just going to sit and see, what the rates do. And
is there a reason you went with that?
At the time when we bought this one, I didn't have as many banking relationships as I do now.
Yeah.
And so this was just, the local credit union I was with. It was the terms they had, and like the variable rate at that time was like 3.5%. So
you're like,
sure, why not? I knew we bought it well, where it wasn't going to matter. Like the numbers work like 12% on that thing. So like if it goes 12%, we're all in trouble at that point. So,
honestly. So, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Good. I was gonna change topics unless you had something to add.
I was gonna say, well, we're bouncing. We're talking about everything, literally. So going back to your story before you and your wife kind of partnered. Exactly. So with you scaling and getting, more deals and stuff like that, did you? I know you're talking about joining a company. Mm-hmm. What was the time frame with everything?
So basically, when we bought our first, probably, I'd say like 8 to 10 houses, was over about a 12 to 18 month time frame, somewhere around there. Yeah. So we started like I said, the 18-month time frame was the first like 10 deals or so.
Yeah.
And then that was all flipping. That's all we did. Yep, just jumped into flipping. I didn't even know what wholesaling was at the time.
What year are we in?
Houses. This would be roughly 2016-ish. Somewhere around there.
It's not a bad time.
Yeah. So it was around 2016. This was all down in Virginia. And basically, once my wife and I had decided we were moving up to PA, I parted ways with my partner that I had down there. Basically split the deals that we had left. It's amicable, no issues or anything like that. And then moved up here in 2018. And basically I just started going to sheriff sales. So bought a couple at sheriff sale. We lost money on the first deal we did up here.
No way.
I didn't know any contractors or anything like that. Like I had my guys down there, right?
Yeah.
I come up here and I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
So it was just a train wreck. And this was a house I didn't get into before the sheriff sale. I looked the outside, it just looks like a nice little rancher, Chambersburg, great neighborhood. I'm like,
this is perfect.
We're done, locked in, let's go. And I walk in and the whole basement covered in mold, black mold everywhere. And so that was like a $20,000 remediation just to get the mold taken care of down there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then the contractor I had was just horrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. But this guy comes up, asks if we need the lawn mowed.
Yeah.
And he mowed the grass, start talking to him. He used to be a contractor, and he kind of got out of it because he got burned by some people.
Yeah.
And the project's sitting half done for me at this point. I had just kicked the other contractor off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, Chintz, you want to finish this out? And he's like, well, let me come look at it. And so he goes in, finishes it out. I've been using that dude ever since.
That's amazing.
And literally
you put him back in business.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. And so he got back into contracting. He's flipped I don't know how many homes for me at this point.
Wow.
And he's like family now. His name's Nate. He's over in Chambersburg.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Absolutely love the guy to death. But
so
we lost $30,000 on that deal.
I was gonna ask.
Wow.
But I got a great contractor out of it.
So it was all worth it.
It was worth it in the end. Yeah.
Contractors are hard to find.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it. When you get a good one, you got to hold on to them like gold.
That's one of my biggest fears is once we actually start switching markets and venturing out a little bit, it's rebuilding that entire team again.
Yep. That's probably the toughest part of it, honestly.
Yeah.
Because the one bad contractor can cost you a heck of a lot of money.
Oh,
Do you have any tips for finding good contractors?
So
things to look out for?
One of my buddies told me this a while ago. If you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, and you got to be there early in the morning, right when they're opening up.
Yeah.
The contractors that are showing up that early in the morning to go pick up materials and get started on the job, like those are normally like
they're the ones.
They're solid. Yep.
Yeah.
So
I heard that on Bigger Pockets too.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And I've done that before, and it's worked out. And then the other thing is just like asking investors that you have good relationships with.
Yeah.
They might not want to give away their like main GC.
They'll give off one of the other ones.
But they'll give off like their HVAC guy, right? Or like the flooring guy or whatever it is, because they're just like, normally they're subbing that stuff out.
Right.
But you can pick up a lot of good people just asking around to other investors. I got several good people from my settlement company.
Yeah.
You know, just saying, hey, this guy said he had a real good experience with him. You might want to give him a call. So settlement company is another good place to grab some.
And that's what we test them out. So like we'll have them do something small. If you can handle something small, okay, we'll do the next step, do something bigger.
Yep. You know? Yeah, that's a good way to go too. If you have something, I'm doing that right now with the new guy. And he was referred to me by somebody that I trust, but I'm like, let's just paint the downstairs of this house. Yeah. And let's just see how it goes. And like, he did a good job with it. I'm like, can you hang lights? He's like, yeah, I can hang lights. I'm like, all right, well, let's put some lights up. And that went well. So like, I'm, baby steps, and I'll walk him through it. Because if he messes something up, it's just a little thing, right? Like, no.
And if you mess up painting, then it's like, all right, come on.
That's exactly it. If you can't paint, then there's bigger problems.
Yeah. Something cool that we kind of did was the 5-unit building that we acquired.
Yeah.
We actually stuck a different contractor in 3 different units. So we had 3 different contractors in each unit.
That's a great way to do it.
Test what's your quality versus your time frame versus your price. And then we were able to figure out who's the best. And someone got fired.
Yeah. That's the hard part, is finding that balance of like, because as investors, like we can't pay the most expensive guy. Like as good as he is, we just can't.
Yeah.
But you also don't want the cheapest guy, because then people are going to walk in and be like, dude,
like, what is this?
This is horrible.
Yeah.
It looks like a flip house. Like,
right.
That's what, like, I always tell people, like, I don't want my house to look like a flip house. Like, I want it to look like someone took their time and like did it custom. And like, it's one thing if it's a rental, you can get away with a little bit more there on that side. Right. But like a rehab, like
it's gotta be nice.
Yes. Yeah. You got to do it right.
Family's moving in there for a while.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. I don't want any problems for them. I want it to work just like I want stuff in my house to work. So.
Most definitely. So you got a question?
No, go ahead.
You go. I've been going.
I was just gonna touch base on, so obviously you and your wife. Oh, actually no, sorry. I'll leave that for later. I'm curious on this, actually. So you moved to Pennsylvania, your first flip, you lose $30,000. Yep. You gain a contractor.
Yep.
Are you then like nervous after that? Or you're like, oh, I mean, I succeeded 9 other times. I just failed on this time.
No, I'm one of those people, like, if I don't know how else to phrase it. Like
a high risk taker.
Yeah, like I will take as many calculated risks as I can. Yeah. Like my wife has to like reel me in, and again, she's like the yin to my yang, where like she's very conservative and like she's not a risk taker at all. So like I will run stuff by her, and she'll basically be like if I know if she agrees with it, then like all right, you're
good to go.
Yes, Not that I take that into consideration every time, because there have been plenty of times like I've jumped on something when she's like, I don't think we should do this. And sometimes I've been right, sometimes she's been right. You know, like it's just one of those things. But I knew at that point, like my batting average was high enough that like I'm gonna be fine, and I knew exactly what I did wrong on it.
Right.
You know, so like it was.
Easy fix.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about it. I was still going and buying more houses right after that, and just
nice.
Rolling.
So that's around like your 10th, 11th house. When you move up here, when did you transition then into owning rental properties?
So my wife and I, our first house we bought down in Lynchburg.
Right.
We had no idea what house hacking was, but that's what we did unintentionally. We turned the basement into a 2-bedroom apartment and rented it out to a couple of our buddies from college.
Yeah.
And they lived with us until we moved out of the house. So I always talk about, you'll hear this in my presentation, like my wife and I have never not had roommates.
Yeah.
Like now it's our kids, but like we literally, from the day that we moved in that house and got married to like right now, we have always had someone living in a house with us. And it was the best decision we ever made. Again, not knowing what we were doing. We're just like, this sounds like a good idea to have someone else pay your rent.
Yeah.
And so we rent out for like $850 a month. Our mortgage was like $600 at the time or something like that.
You're making money.
So yeah, we were covering all the utilities, grocery bill, like all that kind of stuff. It was great. And it was good because at that time, like I think we were making like 25 grand between the both of us. Like it was like,
wow,
we were scraping by, but like without having a mortgage and you know, utilities and stuff like that, it's like we were pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what helped us start putting money away, was doing that house hack unintentionally. And it was like, okay, now we got money set aside, so now we can start going and, you know, doing this first flip or, you know, whatever it is. But that was technically our first rental.
Yeah.
What was that? Back in 2012.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we bought another one that was an unintentional rental. We bought it was a pre-1976 mobile home. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 1976 stuff.
No.
Okay, so don't ever buy a pre-1976 mobile home.
All right.
So anything that's pre-1976 doesn't come with HUD tags, okay? So the HUD tag is how they identify the mobile home, basically.
Okay.
And if you don't have those on it, then you basically, whoever buys it from you has to pay cash. It's really not going to get bank finance.
Good to know, because we got like a 7 mobile home portfolio we're working on right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you're going to keep it long term as a rental, not as big a deal.
Right.
But like if it's pre-1976, they're very, very hard to finance through a bank.
Gotcha.
So we bought that one, and we're going to make a great profit on it, and then get our full price offer. The bank appraiser comes and looks at it. He's like, yeah, we can't do this.
Dang.
And tried a couple more times and nothing. And so we ended up keeping it. And it was a good rental for us. Like we made money on it, but eventually when we moved up here, we sold those 2 down there.
So you weren't able to refinance out of that either.
Nope.
Did you buy it pure cash?
Yep.
Your cash?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you sell it to a cash buyer then, too?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I had a buddy down there. He's the Lynchburg version of Ronnie. Like he owns a big flooring company and like does really well. And he wanted another rental and he needs somewhere to put his cash. So
Wow.
There you go.
he's like, yeah, you want it? So I took 30 grand less than what like my original offer would have been on the house, you know, a year before that or whatever it was. But still made out a little bit of money. We got our money back out, which was the big thing. And so
Nice.
yeah, it worked out.
So as of now, do you have like an average of how many flips you're trying to do per year?
So people think this is funny. Last year, I only did 1 fix and flip.
Okay.
No way.
Yeah, so I
would have thought you'd done so much more.
Right, yeah, so that's what everybody thinks. And so, because I used to be real heavy in flipping, I would, a normal year for me was probably like 15 to 20 flips. It was like average, okay?
A good year.
And, it was, you know, making decent money and everything and enough to keep busy.
Yeah.
Right.
And this past year, it became so easy to wholesale, and like a lot of the assignment fees I was getting on stuff, I'm like, that's what I was projecting I'd make on a flip. So like, why am I going to invest all the time and money and everything? So just wholesale almost everything, and then we built up our rental portfolio a good bit. So we kept a lot of the rentals, and then but yeah, we only flipped 1 house. Now this year already we got two or 3 going right now. So
we're just in February, so that's really good.
Yeah, so it's I want to do more this year. Like, I don't even think I realized how many I was foregoing last year until we got to the end. And, like, I'm sitting there going through, I'm like, 1. Okay. Like,
1.
Yeah, like, maybe we should have.
I heard she would have been number 2.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, thanks for rubbing that in. Sorry.
So how did you even know about wholesaling? Because you said you previously had no knowledge about it. So what was that switch there?
So I literally came across something on YouTube. And I wish I could tell you what video it was because I can't remember, but it was some kind of video on YouTube, and we had already decided we were moving up to PA.
Yeah.
And so I started to do a little bit of marketing and stuff like that. Had a guy from York call me, city row home, abandoned type deal. Like the guy wasn't living in it anymore. And he's like, I think he wanted like 15 grand for it or something like that. And I'm like,
easy.
It sounds good to me. Like I didn't know York or anything at that point. I know there's some homes that really aren't worth 15 grand, but like I basically talked to the guy. I never went and saw it. And again, I just saw this wholesaling and I'm like, that sounds easy enough. So I call a property management company up there.
Yeah.
And basically I'm like, hey, do you guys buy these by chance or do you just manage them? And they're like, yeah, our owner does buy them. Like, let me give you his phone number. So I talked to him, and basically he goes out and looks at it, and he's like, how much do you want for it? And like I had it for 15 with this guy, and like, again, I don't know what I'm doing, like 20. And he's like, all right, done. So like,
no way.
He probably got a good discount.
He probably did. Yeah, I don't know at the time, but like I'm pretty sure that house now you could wholesale for like 50 pretty easily. But I made $5,000 on it.
That's awesome, though, right?
I was like, that was easy. Like, I
easiest
could do that.
$5,000 I ever made.
Exactly. Yeah. I never went to the house. I talked to the guy on the phone a couple of times, and like, I was sitting there nervous as can be at the settlement table. Like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. Like, and they handed me the check, and I was like, is this good? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, all right.
Easy.
Yep. So then, just went and did it from there.
Nice.
Yeah.
So are you kind of more focused, well, at least last year, on wholesaling then?
Last year was definitely, so my big focus was rentals.
Okay.
Like, my wife and I sat down at the beginning of the year, and we're like, we'd always sat around like 10 to 15 rentals, and we just like stayed there for years. And we'd sell some and then buy some, and it's just this fluctuation. And so finally we're like, we need to actually go out and start like putting some time behind it.
Gotcha.
Right.
And so we did that, and we bought a bunch in 2023, and the wholesale was just like a thing that came about with it. So I wasn't marketing specifically for wholesale deals or for rentals or anything like that. It was just whatever comes in and I don't like,
right,
I'm gonna wholesale it. Yep. And I try and flip within like a half-hour radius of Gettysburg, down where I'm at.
Okay.
So like I'll go to Chambersburg, Hanover, like up towards like Mechanicsburg area and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But anything outside of that, I try and wholesale. And a lot of the deals come from like Dauphin County, York County, Lancaster County. Yeah. And so, those ones, like, I don't have people set up over there.
Yeah. Any Dauphin County, just let us know.
I will. Yeah, I will. They definitely come. I got a Harrisburg one I got to send over to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it's not finalized yet, so I'm holding it right now. But
sounds good. So
I'll give you guys details.
How many rentals are you at currently?
I think it's like 51 or 52, somewhere around there.
You bought a lot last year.
Yeah. One of them was an 18 unit, and like that was a big chunk of the group. But it was all just like when we started putting focus behind it, like we realized how many deals over the years we had missed out on.
Yeah,
because we were just like, oh, we can sell it and make quick money, and it's like
we realized that same shit.
Yes, yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
Oh, one of them.
Yeah.
It's like you do regret it when you look back on it. You're like, man, I wish I would have kept that. Like the quick money's nice, don't get me wrong, but and sometimes it's necessary. Like that's what people don't realize. Sometimes you have to do it to pay the bills. And like
so that's kind of where we're at right now. It's oh, where are we? What are we gonna do with this one?
Build up that bank account, and that's really like that's why my wife and I made that decision this past year, was because we had built up a good bankroll at that point where it's like, okay, like we need to start putting this money to use. Yeah. And that was the easiest thing to do. So we just went out and bought a bunch of rentals and all off market stuff. And
I was gonna ask if you've ever done on market.
I've bought a couple houses on market here and there.
I feel like the margins are a lot smaller.
Yeah, it's a lot tighter. Obviously you're competing against everybody and their mom on the price. So it's like to be able to squeeze out a good profit there is tough
hard.
a lot of times. Yeah,
definitely.
But none of the rentals have been on market. Those have all been off.
And that 18 unit, did you do a burr with that?
No. So I did so there's a bunch of different ways to do creative finance, right?
Right.
So one of the banks that I work with, Patriot Federal Credit Union in Franklin County. Mm-hmm. So they will allow a second position mortgage on the property.
Okay.
So the lady that sold it to me, she has a second position mortgage for the 20% down payment that the bank's requiring me to bring.
Okay.
And then the bank financed the other 80%. So I basically just paid closing costs on it.
Shit.
How much was that?
I think with everything it was like 25.
That's not
somewhere
bad.
around there. Yeah, 25 to get
for
an
18
unit.
Yeah.
So so it was somewhere around there. Everything's more expensive with that, right? Like the appraisal was like $3,000 or $4,000 for it or something like that, just for the appraisal. And
we're going through that right now.
Yeah. And then you got transfer taxes and like all that stuff. But it to get into it for $30,000 on that, it worked out well. But so I have very little money tied up in that. So
gotcha.
And it appraised for $200,000 more than what I paid for it before we even did anything.
That's awesome.
To it. So at some point we might take the money out, but like it cash flows so heavy right now. It's like, do I want to kind of
retire off this thing?
Yeah, it's exactly it. So I'm like, I don't know if I really want to get into over leveraging it and everything like that. Like maybe at some point down the road, if we have if a good property comes along and I need, you know, a few $100,000 to go put a down payment on like a 50 unit somewhere, then like, at that point.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not going to take it out to like go buy something dumb, you know? So.
Right. And you do that using a HELOC?
So home equity line, you can also get business lines of credit. Once you get to a certain point, you know, they'll look at your taxes the last couple of years and say like, okay, yeah, you know, we'll give you whatever. It's like $100,000 line of credit. Yeah. The interest rate's a little bit higher on it than your HELOC because there's nothing securing it technically.
Right.
But yeah, lines of credit. And then, you know, we have private money lenders that we work with. Some are family, some of them aren't. Yeah. So, you know.
I thought it was pretty interesting how you got this deal. If I'm wrong, let me know. But you were driving right through the neighborhood a lot, and then you saw this property, and you're like, I want this. Yeah. Is that how it came about?
Yeah. So I bought a house at an auction, 2 houses at different auctions in there, and just a good little neighborhood in Biglerville, which is like right next to Gettysburg, and had done, you know, the 2 fix and flips in there, and to get into it, you have to drive past this 18 unit.
Yeah.
And the lady used to have her number on the sign out front for like people looking for rentals, and so I called it a couple times when we were doing the fix and flips, and she just never called me back. And
it's a good sign.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Poor management.
She's not calling anybody back. So, but yeah, so I was actually taking a guy on just a ride around. You know, the guy looking to get into real estate, just showing him around and stuff. And so we were coming through Biglerville. I was like, let me show you these 2 flips that I did over here.
Right.
So as we're driving in, I look over and I'm like, oh, there's that 18 unit. So I just call it on a whim, and she picks up. Oh, and she's like, she's sick in bed. She's like, actually, like, I have been thinking about it a lot lately. Like, can you call me back on Thursday? I think it was like Monday or something like that. I couldn't sleep for like 3 days. Like, I was like, so
I want that 18
units. Yes, yeah. We didn't talk price or anything. Like, I was like, I don't care what she's asking. Like, I'm going to buy this place.
Yeah.
And so we connected on Thursday. I went and had lunch with her at Baker's Diner. And we met up, signed an agreement, and that was it.
Wait, did you meet up with her before even seeing it, or did you guys see the property first?
So good question. So we saw the property first. We met over there one day, did a walkthrough on the property, and then I think it was either the next day or the day after that we went to Baker's.
Okay.
And and then signed paperwork right there.
Did you make an offer to her? Did she have a price in mind?
She had her asking price was so reasonable. I just gave her asking price. I paid $600,000 for it. So
600 for 18?
Yeah.
That's actually
Wait.
It's
now that literally those types of deals, it's like that's nothing but God.
That's exactly
literally
what I said. It's 100% God. Like the fact that she picked up the phone, that she happened to be laying sick in bed that day. Like I don't wish sickness on anybody, but that obviously like adds to her pain of like, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
Tired landlord.
Yeah, just tired landlord, didn't want to deal with it, and it was 100% a God thing.
That's awesome.
So how
price, the way it worked out, everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So how did you figure out the numbers on like doing subject to, or was it subject to?
No. Just so basically, you look at it as just like a regular purchase, right? Yeah. So
so she just financed her down payment.
She just financed the down payment. Yep. Gotcha. Yeah. So she financed the down payment. She's doing like 4.5% or something like that, and like I think there's like a 10-year balloon on like her down payment or something like that, which is plenty of time to either refi or build up equity, like whatever it is. So
that's amazing.
But yeah, it was a good one. But yeah, I mean, I just have a rental sheet, and I just plug in the numbers. You know, how much is the rent? And this calculates for everything: utilities, taxes, insurance. Set aside 10% for maintenance and upkeep. We account for 5% vacancies. Like it does all of it, and it spits out a number for me at the bottom. Nice.
And who taught you that? Did you have a mentor for like running numbers?
Yeah. So this one of the best human beings I've ever met. His name's Michael. If I get emotional, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
He passed away from cancer, and oh gosh,
take your time.
Yeah.
It's all good.
It's hard. Man.
If it's too much, you don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, we can change the subject.
No. I'll recoup. I'll be good.
No, it's good.
Oh,
it's
man.
Good content if you don't mind.
Yeah, no. I don't care, man. It's open book.
Yeah, he had a bunch of rentals, and this is down in Virginia. It's where I met him.
Yeah.
And he brought me in, showed me his rentals, showed me
how to do all the deal analysis, running the numbers.
The breakdown of everything.
He gave me all of it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Was he around your age?
No, he's in his mid-40s when we met, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And it's been 2 years since he passed.
Wow.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
It's got to be hard.
Yeah.
So definitely like a huge impact on your life and like real estate in general.
Did that take a toll on the business when that happened?
Not really. It was, he had moved down to South Carolina, and
yeah,
we stay in contact, talk all the time.
Right.
But if he didn't show me the side with the rentals, I don't think I ever would have got into it.
Wow.
I was scared to death of rentals just because you hear all the horrible landlord stories and everything.
With the tenants and stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he showed me every little detail about it, how to do it the right way, how to set up a rental the right way, and that's what set me on my course with rentals.
That's awesome.
It was him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's an amazing guy. And
you're an amazing guy.
Miss America. I'm sorry.
No,
No,
you're
you're
okay.
good. You're good.
I want to see how much you actually
Being super transparent
I
about
love to see,
everything.
like how much you actually care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to the rentals, do you look for like a specific
You want a tissue?
cash flow?
What?
Yeah, do you
You
want
want
to
a
tissue?
Probably.
I got you. Sorry, you got it.
All right. Do you look for a specific like cash flow per month?
Yeah. So $200 per door net.
Okay.
Like true net, like after everything's accounted for and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah, $200 per door net is basically what I look for on multifamilies.
Okay.
If you deal in single families, you want to have a lot higher.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that hedge when someone moves out, right? So, and I only have one single family left. I sold them all off because they don't make as much sense as multifamily do.
Yeah.
So
this means a lot for us right now, actually, because what we keep like referring to, just insider, but we had a buyer back out today of our single family property. It was supposed to close towards the end of March.
Yeah.
this is a rental that you guys have had for a while?
No.
Oh, okay.
So we were going to initially keep it as a rental, do a burr with it.
Right.
Would have made sense. But then we're like, we need the money. Let's just flip it to have money in reserves and stuff.
Right. So we were kind of really banking on that because we have a couple closings as well coming up at the end of March.
Yeah.
We're going to need EMDs for down payments, closing costs, stuff like that. And so we got a text today. Well, we had to, so I guess there's this guideline. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but whenever you're selling a property within a 180-day time frame, if it's more than double the value of what you bought it for
an FHA buyer.
If it's an FHA buyer, correct?
they're requiring two appraisals, right?
Yep.
So one appraisal came back at the price we needed, and the other one came back about $11,000 under where we needed.
Yep.
And obviously, there's the option to appeal the one appraisal, but the buyer was refusing. She was like, no. She was like, I want it for that price. And she's still getting 6% seller's assistance.
Yeah.
Her agent's still getting his 3% commission. Oh my gosh, yes. I'm like, you're literally making money from buying this house.
Yes, yeah.
Like, you're going to close and get a check.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And eventually, like, me and Stefanie gave in. We're like, okay, like, you can have everything you want. We just quite literally need the money.
Yeah.
And she still backed up. She was like,
Which I'm like, it is what it is. You know,
Right, so
everything happens for a reason.
You're gonna deal with that, and that it goes back to the whole like don't count your chickens before the eggs hatch.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing. Like you'll have people back out all the time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Especially government financed buyers.
yeah. So now we're in the predicament of we bought it at a low enough price, and we're all in for a low enough price where we can do a cash out refi, pay off the lender, and have like $0 into the deal.
Yep.
But that still leaves us with the issue of not having capital for the closing at the end of this month.
Yeah.
Which I think he's stressing. I think we're going to be fine.
You should have seen me at work today. I still also work a full-time job.
Oh, yeah.
So I was on my forklift driving around. I'm like fucking yanking my I'm like, how are we going to afford all this shit? I don't know.
Yep.
Like I'm maxed out.
That's what it goes back to. Like if you guys can, like, it's good you guys are buying rentals right now. Don't get me wrong. That's awesome. And I think you guys should keep doing it. But if you guys are at a point where the lack of money in your bank account is causing you stress, it's going to affect all the other areas of your business. So like build the bankroll up, like however you got to do it. It doesn't have to be your own cash. If you guys can go get that cash somewhere else, then go do it just so you have some breathing room.
Like obviously Stefanie has quite the influence, and we've built good relationships throughout the real estate community. So I feel like if we ever do need some kind of like private money loan, like we're capable of getting that. But at the end of the day, it's like, do want to hold some kind of responsibility, like make sure that we can do this on our own. But now it's like, okay, so we can refinance this, but our entire game plan is kind of similar to you. Is like we don't want to keep really any single families as rentals just because vacancy. It's like you're not counting 5% vacancy. There's 100% vacancy once they're out of there. So it's like we've just kind of been up in the air all day. Like, what are we gonna do? And then we're like, okay, well, I guess we can refi. How are we gonna get the money? We got to sell that Duncan property. So it's like we just need so many pieces to fall into place.
And it's all gonna work out.
It will.
I tell him, I was like, you got to start going to church. I brought him to church once. This guy fell asleep through the whole service.
It was bad.
Hey, just being there is progress.
For sure.
I mean, Hey, listen, I mean, if you guys are confident that you're going to be good on the financial side if you keep the house, then it's not a bad idea to keep it. Because the thing is, you could decide 6-12 months from now to sell it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no rule that you have to hold on to it forever. So if interest rates drop into the 5s, then maybe that price jumps 10 or 20 grand. And then you can sell it. So, I mean, it's, I think a lot of people fall into that of like, oh, like, I'm going to keep this house. And like, there's no time. Like, you can keep it for 3 months if you want to. You can keep it for 30 years. Like, sell it when the time's right. And then
once we're past that 180-day mark, we don't have to get too appraised.
But with FHA, it's, I really try and shy away from FHA buyers when I can. For that reason and
their inspections.
It's just that there's so many potential issues that can happen. If I have an offer that's 5, 7, sometimes even 10 grand less, and it's conventional versus FHA, I almost always go with the conventional. If I have the room to do it on the property.
It's just more likelihood that one's going to actually close.
Exactly. A conventional, it's pretty hard for something to fall through on a conventional. Like, they got to find some major issue that you're not willing to fix or something like that. Like, so.
Plus, we were going to do the repairs too for her. But, like,
sometimes you give them the world and they still won't.
That was so shocking to me. I'm just like, you have everything you need here. It's a fully remodeled home, 5 beds, $134,000. You can't beat that. It's got an insane view out the back. We had the whole backyard redone. It was so nice. So disappointing.
See, it takes a toll more on him, I feel like.
I don't know.
But I do want to get, as we were talking about, like the numbers of everything. So what do you like more? Like, is your rentals bringing in more income versus your wholesaling, or is the wholesaling?
So wholesale is significantly higher. And you should always try and have both. Okay. So your rentals, a lot of people use them as like, it's a tax haven. It helps, you can depreciate. And then that can help offset the income that you're making over here in the wholesale side, right? Good. So that's really like the wholesale business makes way more money.
Can we say how much or not?
I don't care. Last year net was just under 400.
No, wow.
Around there.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that's really good.
You have a fairly small team, right?
It's just me and my wife.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Are you doing the cold calling yourself? Or do you have mainly all inbound? So
I actually haven't done cold calling in years. So it's we actually even got out of SMS just like 6 months ago, which we might get back into it, but there's a lot of like issues with like people
the rules and regulations,
and like all kinds of stuff, and like the systems that people were using weren't catching things. And so even when you were using a good quality system, it was still leaving people open to potential lawsuits. So we just put that on pause because SMS is great, great ROI on it. It's fantastic. But I wasn't willing to risk a potential lawsuit for it. So not saying I'm never getting back into it. I'm just waiting until like they catch up with the regulations, because the regulations on it change all the time.
Yeah.
But it's mostly mail and pay-per-click. It's the majority of it. And then, you know, you get random deals here and there from like a referral, a realtor calls you or, you know, whatever it is. But, you know, 85 to 90% would fall under pay-per-click and mail.
So with you saying you made 400,000, is that revenue or is that net? That's net. So
that's impressive.
Yeah, that's very impressive. So with that, like, how much did you have to spend to be able to get to that point?
So this is the part that a lot of people don't want to hear and they don't want to do. Okay. I probably had to spend, again, my wife could tell you exact, but it's...
We should have had her on the pod.
Dude, she'd be here with her computer telling you down to the penny everything. It was around probably 250, 275.
Okay.
Somewhere around there. Probably lower, 250-ish.
And you're a lot, but you're still like 150% return on your money.
Yeah.
Yes. Amazing.
Right, yeah. It works out. It's just most people don't want to... And don't get me wrong. Like, when I first started out, if someone had told me that, I'd been like, no, never. Like, I'm not spending that.
Yeah.
But, like, once you get consistency going and you have that money coming in, then it becomes a lot easier to say, like, all right, let's try another, like, $4,000 over here, and let's try another $2,000 over here, and like, because eventually you hit it's law of diminishing returns, right? Like eventually, like, it doesn't matter if you spend another $10,000 in TV or pay-per-click or whatever it is, like, you're not going to get any extra money for it,
right?
So our market's only so big.
Gotcha. And you have the high like paying marketing things like you said, mailers and then PPC.
Yeah.
Like for a newbie, they typically wouldn't go right to that since it's more expensive. They would go
not to.
Yeah.
No. If you're new, you need to start. Like I started out with bandit signs. Like I would go around myself and put out like 25 bandit signs every Friday. Yep. My wife and I were handwriting our own cards and like mailing them out and stuff. Like we did all that stuff. You know, like. And, you know, I would cold call people myself. I would send the text messages. Like, I did all that stuff.
Yeah.
And eventually it built up to a point where it's like, okay, now I can pay to start getting some of these inbound leads.
Right.
Right? And that's once you get to that point, the spreads are normally bigger is the main thing, right? You don't have to do as many deals to generate as much revenue.
Right.
But you do have to spend a good chunk of money.
That was going to be my next question is, out of that $400,000 net that you did last year, do you know approximately how many wholesales that consisted of?
So there was, I think of the wholesales, so this is a mix between, so let me get a little technical here for a second. So you guys know what wholesale is, right?
Yeah.
So wholesales, we did several of those. I don't count them as flips. I know
for the audience too, if they don't know, can you explain that?
Yeah, so a wholesale is basically you go in, so similar to what you guys did with the Hershey property. Yeah. You go in, you clean the property out, maybe like spruce it up just a little bit. Like like I'm talking like $5,000 or less, like very minimal stuff. You're not doing any real remodeling or anything like that, and then you just throw it back on the market the way it is.
Right.
And so we did a good chunk of those mixed in with the wholesales and the one flip that we did.
Okay.
I think total it was around like 30 deals or something like that.
That's really good.
Or something like that. Yeah. So you said larger margins. Right. Yeah. You have bigger margins on those inbound leads.
Yeah.
If somebody's picking up a postcard and calling you, like they have some decent level of motivation.
I'd like to dive into PPC a little bit more because that's something we haven't brought up at all on this podcast. So would you mind like just sharing like how you got started in that? Like what?
So I'm not the technical PPC guy. I outsource the stuff.
Okay.
So I don't do my own PPC. The company that I use is called Steel Marketing. Caleb, I always butcher his last name, Lukatic or something like that. I said it for real. Like, but he's been great to work with. So he does pay-per-click. There's another guy. Have you guys heard of iSpeed to Lead?
Oh, yeah, we're good friends with them.
Gene, the guy that owns that company, he does pay-per-click. Like, there's a bunch of good like guys. Like, I could probably list like 5 of them off the top of my head that are like, they all will get you more or less the same results.
Yeah.
So you use several different ones at the same time?
Not at the same time. Okay. No. I've been with different ones. I've also done pay-per-lead. Yep. You know, there's sites like Need to Sell My House Fast. iSpeed to Lead is a pay-per-lead site. There's a few other ones out there.
Right.
So I've done those as well, on and off. You know, like sometimes for whatever reason, lead quality just tanks on them for months, and it's like, all right, I'm not putting any more money into that.
Yeah.
You know, go turn on my own PPC and do it that way. And so,
Interesting.
But yeah, pay-per-click is like you have to know your market, right? Because everybody thinks that normally when I talk to one of these PPC guys that actually runs it and I tell them what market I'm in, they're like, oh, no problem. They don't realize how saturated central Pennsylvania is with
extreme.
It's insanely saturated.
Yeah.
So every one of them that I've talked to says that our market, as far as PPC, is just as competitive as like a Phoenix, a Miami. Like it's
That's
that
insane.
competitive.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. The cost per click is very comparable to those big metros. Like
Because if you're looking to buy a lead off of iSpeed Lead, for example, you're typically looking between like $250 to $450 per lead. And so you don't know if that's gonna.
Yeah, you have no idea if it's going to pan out, and like you got to buy a bunch of them because like 90% of them aren't going to turn into anything.
Right.
So you know, and that's the problem is most people like they go through a few and they're like, oh, I just dropped $2,000, like I'm out.
And some people can also buy those leads too.
Yes, depending on how it's set up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's with pay-per-click and pay-per-lead, it's very difficult to have success with it unless you're spending a good chunk of money on it every month.
Yeah.
If you go in, you're only putting a couple grand, like you're not gonna. I'm not saying you won't get a deal.
I'm not gonna just reap the rewards.
Yeah, like I'm saying it's gonna be real sporadic. Of like you might get a deal this month, then you might go 3 months with nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting there putting in, you know, like I think I'd put in like 10, 12 grand a month on pay-per-click.
Yeah.
So like that at least gives me some consistency.
Yeah.
Like I get leads that come in pretty consistent, and you know, it just if you're gonna go into it, going all the way.
Yeah.
Don't just like dip your toe into it.
Have you thought about doing like
That's good
Facebook
margins.
ads and or
I was doing so. Your all in last year for expenses was around like $675.
Yep.
$275 for marketing plus. Oh well, yeah, 400 net.
400 net, yeah. So gross was around 675 somewhere in there.
So that's 22,000 a lead.
Yeah.
Or deal. That's not bad.
Yeah,
About 30 deals.
That's right on.
So typically, like most wholesales, at least from what we've experienced, are like a 10 to 12 range.
Yeah,
around there.
And again, it depends on the type of lead that you're generating.
That's just what
right?
I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. An SMS or a cold call, like those are where you pick up the 5, 7, 10. Not saying you can't get good ones; they come obviously, but like they're a lot smaller, and you're having to work just as hard, right? So I'd rather, again, like I have to be very cautious with my time because it's just me going out to look at these houses and stuff like I don't have an acquisition guy. Yeah. I don't have a marketing person. Like I got to go.
You don't got time to waste.
Yeah. So I have to make sure if I'm going out to a house, like it's
a quality lead.
Yes, it's a quality one. Like I vet people pretty hard on the phone before I go out there, which it might cost me a deal sometimes. Yeah. Maybe because I'm over vetting them. But ultimately at the end, like I'm walking out with a good property, a good discount, and I can make a decent return on it.
It sounds like if you're going to these appointments, you've kind of already know like you're gonna buy this one. Yeah, for the most part, it's like you vet them.
Yeah, I give almost everybody a range before I go to the house,
just to make sure.
Yeah, and so if they say like like somewhere in there will work. Yeah. Then like I know like okay like I
the contract with
contracts in my hand, like we're going, and like it obviously they don't all work out, but you have a good idea. Yeah.
How many appointments do you typically have a week, or is it?
So it's real sporadic depending on time of year. So like you and I were talking before we started, and November, December, early January is just slow. Yeah. Right? Like people are looking to move. They don't want people in their house. It's the holidays. It's sixth season. Like it's just, so it slows down a lot. Like at that point, it might be like 1 a week, 2 a week. Yeah. Something like that. As we've started to pick up here. So like right now it's building up a good amount. I might go on like 5, 6 a week right now.
That's good.
When we peak, like it's probably like 10 to 15. It is probably
that's really good.
Yeah, somewhere around there. So
I mean, just for being a one-man band too, that's impressive.
Yeah. It's a lot to keep up with, but I try and schedule all my stuff basically between like 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. because like 8 a.m. is when the kids get on the bus, and then 3:30 is when they're home. So I try and structure it so I can be home when they get home.
That's nice. Make it work out with your schedule and everything.
Yeah.
So do you do any innovations then, since you don't have your license, but
yeah, I do. I'm not a big fan of novations. I might ruffle some feathers with that.
That's
but
okay.
Like,
I'll come.
So I think there are a very small percentage of houses that make sense for a novation, right? And I think that a lot of people have fallen so in love with this novation idea that they almost use it as like a crutch when it's not actually in the person's best interest sometimes.
Yeah.
And so that's why I will do them in the right scenario. Right. Sometimes you have people that are just like, I want this price and like, I'm 20 grand off. Like I can't get there. Yeah. Right. But like if I novate it, maybe like something can work. Yeah. And so then it's just a really honest conversation. Look, like I'm not buying your house, but I can send it out. I can market it, see if we could possibly get a buyer for it. Yeah. My agent's going to put it on the market. I'm going to talk to some other investors. Like, let me see if I can get you that number.
Right. And you can even leverage it a little bit more. Just take it a step further.
Yep.
Be like, I'm going to do $5 grand worth of work to your property just to make it look more presentable, which is sometimes more appealing to them. They're like, yeah, like I don't want people to know where I live, to see my house and be like, you know, they're living in that. Like, oh, it looks like a decent properties.
Right.
There's always some situations where it's like beneficial, but you're right. Yeah. Where a lot of them, it's like some of these investors are definitely taking advantage.
Yeah, it's like a deal that I just had one in Lemoyne, and you know, company comes in and they're going straight novation, but they're not telling the guy that they're doing a novation. So it's in the you know, fine print of the contract that it's there, but they
skim over it.
Yes, the guy has no idea that's what's going on, and so because he keeps saying, he's like, yeah, they said they would, you know, give me whatever it was, like 90,000 for it, and like I'm at like 80. I'm like, there's no way they're giving you 90 because like I'm being pretty aggressive with this house, and he's like, yeah, he said they, you know, like they're gonna buy. He's like, they just need some of their contractors to come walk through it, and like, and I'm like, did they say like which contractors or anything like that? And he's like, no, he was just real confused with the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I started asking him questions because I know what's going on and he doesn't. And so like eventually I explained it to him, like, this is what they're doing. Like, this is why they need a 45-day due diligence. Yeah. Like, nobody needs a 45-day due diligence unless you're not buying it yourself. Yeah. It's like, I don't need any due diligence. Like, I'll commit to buying it right now from you. I don't need anybody else to walk through the house until after we settle and you have money in your hand.
Yeah.
And so, like, he sold it to me for 10 grand less. I wholesaled it for, like, I don't know what it was, like 97 or something like that.
Did he double close that?
No.
So he was still okay with
He's still, I told him, like, I tell everybody up front, like, again, like, maybe it costs me deals sometimes, but, like, I tell everybody up front, like I am going to, you know, make a profit on this, and like they all know that.
Yeah,
like,
that's why we're
you know what I mean? Like they know it. People are just scared to say it. So like I tell them up front, like I am gonna make some money on this, and he's like, it's cool as long as I get my money. Like I'm fine with it. So
try to make it a win-win scenario.
Yep. And if I have people that seem like they're gonna get upset about it, then like I do a lot of double closes.
Yeah.
So it keeps both parties happy.
It just feels better too sometimes. You know?
Yeah. It does. So double close is a great option.
Yeah.
Do you use your own money for double closes, or do you typically have like a transactional lender?
Normally we'll use our own money. You know, we just pull it from like one of the credit lines quick, and you know, it's in the account for all of 2-3 hours, and
not paying
any interest back. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So normally we'll do that. We've had a couple scenarios where like our cash is out, and so we have a couple people that'll do transactional funding for us.
That's
and
good.
You know, it's normally like a point or like half a point, whatever it is. So,
yeah.
But yeah.
Before we get out of here, I know we've dove pretty deep in like a lot of things, right? I know you have a lot more knowledge to share, but for this upcoming year, I mean, do you have like an overall goal of what you're really hoping?
There's two things that I really want to buy. I really want to buy like a decent sized storage unit facility and a mobile home park. Okay. So those are like my two big things. What's that?
We're at exactly.
So perfect scenario within a half hour Gettysburg, but I also understand that like when you're looking for those things, it's needle in a haystack. So
we might have something for you.
Yeah,
maybe.
Oh, actually, yeah.
You know,
possibly. I think so.
Yeah. Okay. we'll talk after the cameras are off.
Yeah.
But yeah. So if I can get it like within like an hour or so of Gettysburg, like that would be ideal. That's kind of as far out as like our rental stretch is an hour. So if we can keep it within an hour of Gettysburg, then if the numbers work, I'll make it work.
Okay. And before, because I know in the beginning I talked about how you're making 6 figures per month, since I know we're going to talk about that at our meetup.
Yeah.
Can you kind of break that down, like where that actually is coming from?
Yeah. So basically when you're gonna have good, like, not every month is 6 figures, right? No. Like you guys know, you're in business, like you have good months and bad months. So
we haven't had a 6-figure month yet.
It'll come. So like there's been times where like so like last year, like I had one deal that netted me out 6 figures.
From one deal.
Just one deal.
That's crazy.
So, and you'll get those that'll come, and like then I have another month where like I have like 7 closings in 1 month.
Yeah.
And you know, like you do the math, like if average is 22, like I got 140, 150 grand coming, I only spent 20, 25.
Yeah.
So like you're gonna have those good months where like everything just stacks up really well.
Right.
And then you have, you know, I had one month last year where like I lost money that month.
Yeah.
I think it was December or November. One of those two.
Probably.
But yeah, one towards the end of the year, like I said, like it dies off, and like if you're flipping, you can kind of coast through those a little bit better because it's a longer term thing. But when you're wholesaling, like those deals go in and out.
Yeah, you just
quick.
never know. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So like you can have something. I can get a call on my way out of here and have a deal today and have it closed by the end of the month.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like those come and go a lot quicker. So, but yeah, it's when you have that 20-ish grand a month that's working on the marketing side, you're gonna have deals that just stack up at certain months, and you know you try and even it out as best you can. So like I've had times where like I'm moving stuff around because I'm like, all right, this month has like too much in it, like it's like really really good, I can delay this one 2 days or this one 2 days and like put it in this month because we don't really have a lot stacked
too
up
much.
here.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, so you move stuff around, but like not every month 6 figures, obviously. I'd love to sit here and tell you it is, but like obviously, I mean, you can tell with the net out amount, like it's not. Mm-hmm. But you know, like you have some really good months sometimes, and like you'll pick up those deals. You know, like Isaiah and his partner, like I think it was like the first deal they did, they picked up like a 6-figure deal.
Yeah, I was the agent
exactly.
for that. That was an innovation. Yeah,
they come, like they're there, and you know, like you
just gotta find them.
You never know. This lady literally called me on a Sunday. I was just at home, just hanging out with the family, and like we start talking. She started talking numbers. I didn't even say anything. Mm-hmm. She'd gotten into a retirement village that she'd been on a wait list for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And they told her that she could move to the top of the line if she could be there in 2 weeks.
Oh, no.
Wow. So she's like,
they must have somebody else like back
Yeah,
out.
exactly. Yeah. So she's like, I gotta sell my house. And so she called me as a pay-per-click lead.
Yeah.
And she called me and we started talking numbers, and I was like, how soon can I come over? And she's like, I'm home right now. She's like, I'm just polishing my furniture or something. I'm like, all right.
On my way.
That's exactly what I said. I heard on the phone. I was like, babe, I gotta go. I just like kissed my wife and ran out the door. And
bye, kids.
Yeah, bought it on the spot. I made a phone call afterwards.
That's amazing.
You know, and I gave her like, again, like if you're an investor, like just operate the right way.
Yeah.
Like do things the right way. Yeah. And so like this sweet old lady, like I ended up giving her 25 grand more than what she asked for. Yeah. Cause like she really like was just like, I want to get out. I want to get in my retirement community. Like that's all she cared about. She didn't care about the house or anything else. She just wanted to be out.
Yeah.
And so like, and she was the one giving me numbers. And so when like she gave me this number, I'm like, I can't pay you that.
Yeah.
And like her face just drops because she thinks I'm going the opposite way. Like I'm going to go lower. And I gave her more. And it's just like, again, like if you just operate the right way and you treat people the right way, like it's all going to keep coming.
It just made me think, because I know you're big on your faith. Yeah. So before we end, how like big has your faith impacted like the business and everything?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, obviously, you guys know in business, you have a lot of ups and downs, and especially when you're in the early stages of it, like a lot of ups and downs, a lot of fights with my wife about money and that kind of stuff. Like that's real life. That's how it goes. Like when you get strapped financially, like it causes emotional issues.
Right.
And when you have God to lean on, and you know that like my mind always goes to like, what's my worst case scenario? Like, and ultimately I land on like, it's not that bad. Like, it's really not. Like, I like if they come take my house or whatever it is, like I can go rebuild it. I still have my faith. I still can go to church every Sunday. I still live in a country where I don't get persecuted for talking about Jesus. Like, and I'm still ultimately going to spend eternity with him. Like it's not that bad. Yeah. Like there's people that have it so much worse than me. And like, this is just a constant reminder of like, I don't really care.
Like, it's not going to matter in the end. Like, ultimately, my relationship with him is the only thing that matters, and that's it.
Well, we're going to end it there. That was a perfect, ending. So we definitely appreciate Brandon for hopping on.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Man.
If you guys want to reach out and connect with Brandon, we'll leave his information down below. But with that being said, we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.